All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the August 2025 Commission on Sustainability meeting. We have a really exciting agenda for tonight. And so to get started, I will share a few updates from the office. We had our Chesapeake Conservation and Climate Corps members start today. This is the second year in a row we're hosting a Climate Corps member from the Chesapeake Bay Trust. Her name is Eden, I think it's Giannini. Valerie, do you want to say a little bit more about Eden?
Yeah, I'm not sure if she's on right now. I can't see, but yeah, she just joined us yesterday through the Chesapeake Conservation and Climate Corps, which is a program that we worked with last year as well, run through the Chesapeake Bay Trust. And this year, Eden will be working with us on some community outreach and working on some of the work with our sustainability and resiliency subcabinet and youth programs and several other programs. So we're really excited to have her join us.
Great. Thank you, Valerie. Then today or this week, we're also going to be releasing our monthly newsletter. So look out for that and all the great updates and information there. And our annual sustainability report should be coming out within the coming weeks as well. And so we look forward to sharing that final document with all the commission members as well as the general public. And I will pass it to Mia and Jared to do the roll call.
Thanks, Ava. So we have a couple of business items here today. So we're going to do the roll call. So Mia Blom, present. Jared Lyles.
Present.
Donzel Brown.
Present.
Morgan Grove.
Here.
Nicolette Lucent.
Here.
Ben Zychak.
Present.
Phil Costa.
Here. Sorry.
Okay. And I think that is all that I'm seeing of commissioners that are present. Oh, Stephanie Smith.
And Mia, I think we might have at least one commission member who's called in.
If you called in, can you just announce yourself? If you're a commissioner who's on the line and has called in and we don't know your number.
I was expecting Lisa, but maybe she hasn't joined yet.
Okay. All right. I think we have, that's what we got going on. So just to talk a little bit about the commission sustainability update for that process, is that something that you wanted me to talk about, Amy? Or did you want to take that part?
I'm happy to take that. Joe, would you go ahead and show the slides? And advance a few because we've kind of gone through a bit of the agenda. Actually, stay there real quick and we'll kind of run through the whole agenda just so folks know what to expect for the meeting. We've gone through the updates and the roll call, and the next item we're going to be discussing is the nominations process for the commission and providing an update on that. Ava will also start off the conversation that will continue over the next few months related to the commission's legislative priorities and the process for developing those. And then the theme or topic for today is community preparedness, resilient city, resilient communities. I'll provide an overview of kind of how this topic connects to the Sustainability Plan, DP3, and Climate Action Plan. And Valerie Roop will talk about the Community Resiliency Hub program that our office leads and updates to that program. And Brooke Burgess is a fellow that we have in our office who is going to share information about a resilience survey that she has open now. And then at the end of the meeting, there are a few calls to action and announcements we've been asked to share. So go ahead, Joe. And skip up to the nomination slide. And Mia and Jared, Inez just joined as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Lisa Ferretto is present.
Okay. So to update folks who didn't attend the July meeting, the commission, there are folks who have stepped off and we have some empty seats on the commission. There are other folks who have reached the maximum amount of time that they can serve on the commission. And so the mayor's office has an application process for folks who are interested in serving on boards and commissions. We've been going through the process with a nominating committee. That committee is Jared and Mia, as well as Morgan Grove, Inez Robb, and Nicole Lewis-Saint, who have reviewed the applications that have been submitted. And last month in July, the list of folks down at the bottom of this slide, 5 folks were advanced forward for nomination for reappointment. So 5 current commission members, and then 11 new applicants were voted to proceed with nomination for as members. And then for co-chairs, the nominations are Jared Lyles and Morgan Grove, who are both current members of the commission. Then for this month's agenda, we've received one additional application that the nominating committee wanted to bring to the commission for a vote, and that is Terrace King. Terrace is the head of schools with Temple X Schools and has teaching experience teaching pre-K and kindergarten. He's also very involved in various like science and ecology work with the Baltimore Ecosystem Study and the Maryland Environmental Advisory Council. So Mia and Jared, I wasn't sure if you have anything else that you want to share or discuss before taking a vote.
Sure. Would you be willing to send the commission his information?
Yep. I'm going to mute and go off camera, and I'll send it to everybody who's on the email for the commission business.
Okay, great. And so commissioners, while we give you a moment to review this before we bring the nomination to a vote, I'd like to just go back on the agenda really quickly to give you some time to kind of take in this this nomination and have Ava talk about the legislative process.
I do have a question about if you go back to the other slide, and I know what it's reappointment, I'm no longer being reappointed.
Yep. So we stay on the commission until the new commissioners have been appointed. So we're at the beginning of the process. What happens at this point is once we move this additional nomination forward so that we can move forward 12 individuals, there is a memo of recommendation that goes to the mayor. The appointment and confirmation process then starts with the city council, and then they are appointed after going through that process. And so at this point, we're probably looking at a timeline that puts us near the end of the year, where we would be staying on until that process goes forward. I think I might have anticipated the question that you might have had, Donzel, but we're all the sitting commissioners are still on the commission until the point that the newly appointed commissioners are fully confirmed.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah. you answer my question.
So please continue to show up because we need quorum for the various for the various business that we'll be doing until we go through the process. And for those that are waiting, commissioners in to be appointed, know that along the way, as we get information from the Mayor's Office of Government Relations and are able to move the process forward, then Amy will be in touch with where we are in the process. But it is likely, will likely be closer to like late fall that we'll start to hear some information back. And so we encourage you to attend meetings so that you're aware of what's going on and are ready to jump in when you are officially confirmed. So are there any other questions about that process while we wait for you to maybe check your email and take a look at Terrace's information that's in there? So with that, Ava, I'm going to throw it over to you so that you can talk a little bit about the legislative process to give people time to review.
Great. Thank you, Mia. And so in years past, one of the kind of times where the Commission on Sustainability and commissioners have been able to contribute to providing feedback on legislation is during the Maryland General Assembly. We want to make sure that as a commission, everyone is able to provide their insights and feedback or recommendations for certain legislation or legislative priorities for the body to follow and keep track of. In years past, we have shared previous bills that have maybe been introduced but did not necessarily move very far, or bills that have been introduced several years but don't always make it through to actually becoming law due to whatever challenges those bills encounter in committee. And so we are going to be sending information out to solicit recommendations for specific policy priorities or pieces of legislation from all the commissioners, and are asking commissioners to be prepared to have a discussion about legislative priorities for the 2026 legislative session next month. And it'll be a multi-month discussion, so it won't just be September, but we wanted to make sure all commissioners were or at least the body, because understanding there will be some transitions, but we want to make sure as a body, the priorities were very clear going into next year. So look out for your emails and please come to the September meeting prepared to have a detailed policy conversation. And if you have any questions or things to raise to us in the meantime, feel free to email myself, Jared, Mia, or Amy. And happy to answer any questions about that if anyone has any particular questions about kind of specific priorities or anything that's on your radar.
So hearing none, Ava, I'm going to go ahead and move forward with the nomination process. I'm assuming the commissioners have had enough time to take a quick look. Terrace was actually nominated by Morgan based on extensive work that you all have done together. And so I didn't know, Morgan, if you wanted to share a couple thoughts.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I've worked with Terrace for a number of years now, and he is very committed to the city and a long time person who's been active in the city. His family, starting with his grandmother, was a pastor at Liberty Grace Church on Liberty Heights Road, and he has extensive experience in education, working with youth as well as a background in environmental science. And I think he brings a lot of important perspectives about the city and about the people who live here, particularly youth, and their environments, and new and novel ways that people can be reached and engaged. And so I think that he would be a wonderful addition to this commission, and as well as extending the connections that the commission and the Office of Sustainability have in communities that perhaps may have historically not been reached.
Thank you, Morgan. So the nomination committee reached a majority vote to bring this nomination to the full commission. And so I'd like to entertain a motion from the floor to accept the recommendation for appointment to the commission of Terrace King.
I'd be happy to provide that motion if I'm allowed.
I'll second that.
Would the nominations committee maybe consider allowing a different commissioner to second? Someone who is not on the nomination committee.
I will second the motion.
And that's Ben. Ben, thank you
Yep.
very much. So let the record show that motion was made by Morgan Grove, seconded by Ben Zychek. And so all in favor? If you can raise either your virtual hand or your
For real,
physical hand.
And Mia or Jared, could you call out the names so I can record the votes?
Yep. So Morgan Grove, Ben Zychek, Jared Lyles, Mia Blom, Donzel Brown, Nicolette Lewis Saint. Someone else had their hand raised and lowered it before I got it.
It's mine, but got me.
Thank you, Phil.
And then I'm not sure, Inez is present. I'm not sure if she is able to take herself off of mute. And then I'm not sure if Lisa is able to take herself off mute or to put in the chat. And did we get Nicolette?
Yeah, if you can't get off mute, Lisa, I saw your email. Just type in the chat. I think.
And then Stephanie, I'm not sure if you've had an opportunity to vote.
I don't know if you had me either, Mia.
I'm sorry, Phil. I think yours was the one that was up and down really quickly.
Got it.
And I can't see everyone because of the screen. So if there's anyone else that I missed, Amy, I'm not sure where, if you're recording this in the internal document.
Yeah, in the internal document, I have Mia as yes, Jared as yes, Denzel, Phil, Morgan, Nicolette. I wasn't sure if we heard Stephanie or not, and I got Ben.
Okay, and then we just need to grab Lisa since she's present. Okay.
I think even if we haven't directly heard from Lisa or Inez, I think we have enough votes to, we have 8 yeses, I believe.
Fantastic. And then I have just one more thing that I do want to share with everyone. There is a attendance requirement for the commission. If there is a attendance of less than 50% of the meetings, it is considered an automatic resignation. And so I just wanted to share that because that impacts our quorum amount. So wanted to share that we received confirmation on that and just make sure that everyone is aware. So thank you. We will be moving Terrace's recommendation forward with the other members that have been recommended. And so thank you all for that. I appreciate it. And I hand it back over to you,
Okay.
Amy.
Joe, can you go to the next slide? So as I'd mentioned, the topic today is on the theme for the third quarter, community preparedness, and the specific topic for this month is resilient city, resilient communities. Oh, Ms. Inez has her hand up.
Inez, are you voting for Terrace?
Okay, that's
Thank
a
you.
thumbs up.
And
Thank
then
you.
Lisa Fredo has voted as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I'll get those recorded. So connections of this topic to the Sustainability Plan, Climate Action Plan, and DP3. Next slide. The Sustainability Plan is organized around 5 different themes and a total of 23 different topics. And the clearest connection to the Sustainability Plan is there is a topic on community preparedness, which calls for things like expanding the Community Resiliency Hub program, which Valerie will be speaking about in a bit. And so even though community preparedness is kind of the most obviously connected Sustainability Plan topic to kind of resilient communities, there are also a number of other topics in the plan that kind of weave together and support community preparedness. And so the neighbors and neighborhood topics have actions around strengthening neighborhoods and better connecting neighbors. Urban agriculture and the food system topics talk about ways for making the food system more resilient and connecting, supporting communities in that way. The buildings and energy topics talk about making our buildings more resilient and increasing the use of renewable energy. And then the nature in the city topics talk about different ways for managing stormwater management and flooding and increasing tree canopy and green infrastructure to mitigate climate change. Next slide. And then the kind of most directly related plan that relates to this topic is the city's disaster preparedness plan, which was updated in 2023. And that plan looks at all of the different hazards that Baltimore is most likely to experience, ranging from weather-related hazards like urban heat and flooding and storms, and also includes some human hazards such as cyber attacks. And then part of the plan involves the mitigation strategies as far as what are the things that can be done to better prepare the city and make it more resilient, given the different hazards that the city can expect to experience. And so those strategies are organized around infrastructure, buildings, natural systems, and public services. And built into the DP3, there are several recommendations related to the Resiliency Hub program, again, that Valerie will be speaking about. Next slide. And so next we have, as I mentioned, Valerie. And Valerie, do you want to share your own slides, or do you want Joe to continue to share her screen?
I just realized I'm on mute. My bad. Apologies. Yeah, if she can keep sharing, that would be great. It's a little smoother transition then. Thank you. So hi, everyone. I'm Valerie Roop. I'm the Climate and Resilience Program Manager with Baltimore City. I'm just going to run through a little quick overview of the resiliency hubs just to make sure everyone on the call is familiar with them. And then we'll just dive into some work we've done recently where the program is 10 years old approximately now. So we've done some assessment and looking forward how we can be moving these resources and helping to build them moving forward. Next slide, please. So just a little background, the Community Resiliency Hubs, they are trusted service-based community organizations, which include many faith-based organizations with strong leadership located in under-resourced Baltimore neighborhoods. They partner with the City of Baltimore, and that is with the city, with Office of Sustainability, Department of Emergency Management, and the Department of Health. to provide essential services and community support during times of crisis. Community resiliency hubs really serve as a space where people in neighborhoods can gather in times of emergency. They can access reliable power for their essential devices, for instance, receive supplies, food and drinking water, and sometimes store medications that are sensitive to temperature, among other things. So the community resiliency hubs also, may serve as staging areas during emergencies and recovery personnel, as well as conduits for critical supply distribution to the community. Next slide, please. So, this is just a little bit of a quick overview of some of the examples that that some of the hubs provide to their communities right now. Next slide, please. In terms of that, I mentioned the city agency partners. Currently, there are approximately 20 community resiliency hubs located throughout Baltimore. We do emphasize them being in frontline communities, though we do, for the most part, they do come to us. So, there are some that it might be in a little more resource communities, but also have people who are subject to vulnerabilities due to climate resilience issues. Next slide, please. So a little background, this program was actually pioneered here in Baltimore in 2014 and is now being replicated around the world at this point in several different nations and around the country. This program is a direct result of the disaster preparedness plan. The city wanted to ensure that people in Baltimore had access to resources and recognized that working with community partners would increase the trust and likelihood of people to access those resources, including very important information and resources, that through those community-based organizations. So to date, we haven't intentionally recruited community resiliency hub partners. They've come to us with an interest in gaining the resources so they can share them gaining the resources of the program so they can share them with their communities. None of these hubs act as a hub exclusively. They all provide a variety of services and resources to their communities, and they opt to include the community resiliency hub into their normal operations. And while they collaborate closely with the city, the community resiliency hubs self-identify and promote their resources to their communities. So these are not, as you'll notice on the map, we don't identify the sites specifically. We just say where they are, and then those sites, in order to serve their communities, they directly reach out to their communities. Next slide, please. Just to break up the fact there's a lot of text in that, there's some pictures. You'll see one of our lovely commissioners right on the upper right-hand corner, Ms. Robb, who is very active in a community resiliency hub in West Baltimore. But you'll also see some photos of, in the upper left-hand corner, down at City of Refuge, where they are doing some solar installation projects. Up below that, you'll see, some cisterns that have been installed for some modeling good resiliency practices. And the lower right-hand side, some food distribution that occurred during the COVID pandemic. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, the program is 10 years old, so we did do some assessment, and what we found was that, the program is really respected within the communities, but there really isn't consistent awareness. Not everybody necessarily knows those hubs are there, those resources are there, and that the hubs themselves had a desire to increase their capacities to provide additional resources to their communities, and that there were quite a number of facility issues. Some of those we are addressing through some grant funding we've received, such as installing solar and backup generators at 16 of the hubs. But, there are also ones that have, energy efficiency issues, and even some areas where there is limited ADA compliance in certain areas. And then concurrently, there were other considerations at this time. Office of Emergency Management and the Health Department were both seeking to identify more committed partners in the community that are able to assist their communities during extreme heat event and other emergencies. Also, recent plans like the Climate Action Plan and the most recent Disaster Preparedness Plan all emphasize the community resiliency hubs. And then the hubs themselves were not available in all frontline communities, and they are not well dispersed throughout the city. As you saw in that, there's some clusters and there's some areas where we, certainly could be looking to expand those. Next slide, please. And this is just, some examples of some of the types of emergencies that folks have responded to. You'll see some flooding, you see code red extreme heat events, There also have been times where they've one of the hubs has responded to a mass shooting in a neighborhood and so on. So they do address a number of different types of emergencies. So these are really important services, and we want to make sure that we can support them in helping their communities. Next slide, please. So as a result of all of that, what we decided was that we would structure the program to help increase the hub's capacities according to their needs and desires. That's something that's very important to us, to keep it as a meet them where they are approach and help to amplify what they're doing, not have a cookie cutter approach to every single hub. And then also that the network itself should grow so we can serve more communities. Next slide, please. So characteristics of the updated model that we're looking at is, we're looking at introducing, excuse me, sorry, my slide. We wanted to create a clearly organized structure that interested community-based organizations could be a part of, while also adding support to the hubs that wish to offer more resources to their communities. So as noted, none of the hubs are only hubs. They have other programs and services. So we need to be sure that the structure can meet the organizations where they were to help them increase their resources as they choose. So not all of them might want to expand their services or may not want to grow them to the same areas. So we want to be nimble and flexible to work with them in that. This is especially important because many of the hubs are staffed by volunteers. So their ability and willingness to be able to respond during different types of emergencies varies. And then knowing that we'd like to expand the program to more locations, we wanted to make sure that we're really clearly communicating expectations of both the city and the hubs, and to allow each hub to serve in the right role for them here and now, and then to help to get them where they would like to be in the future. Next slide, please. So what we came up with was a tiered model. There is no one being better than the next. It's just different types of services that they would offer. With this model, they're all kind of build on one another. So they're categorized to demonstrate different levels of services that they provide and outline specific expectations and roles that are relevant to the associated level of services or resources provided. So, as I said, they're all equally important and valuable, but, some of them really want to play different roles in the future and be able to build their capacities and their facilities to serve in different types of emergencies and to have different functions. I'll review each of them in a little more detail, but I just want to note that each of these categories that we have expands on the previous one. So for instance, as you'll see, the limited function activated site will meet all of the criteria of an information center, and a multiple function site would meet all of the criteria for a limited function site, and so on. And publicly, we don't really use these names, that we're still just referring to these community resiliency hubs. They'll promote their resources and services to their communities as usual. This is really for our purposes of helping to, make sure everybody gets the right training. We're working with them to get the right resources to be able to meet those different functions. Next slide, please. All right. So with this, there are a few basic characteristics and capabilities that must be met to become a community resiliency hub. The first three have been core to the program since its inception. Others have been added with input from the current community resiliency hubs based on lessons learned over the last 10 years of operating the hubs. And so what we're conscious is not to add too many requirements, because we want to make sure not to hinder participation. Instead, we want to make sure that everyone's prepared to respond when emergencies occur. This means that we require multiple contact people, certain plans to be in place, trainings, onboarding for new hubs or no people involved in the hubs and with established hubs. So, if a new staff person comes on, for instance, we'd want to get them trained and oriented towards the hub. And then active participation in the hub network meetings. So again, not to make this overly onerous, just to make sure that we've got, those bases covered. And this, the city Baltimore partners are really here to help them meet all these requirements. So we're arranging trainings, we're helping with different, development of different plans and along those lines. Oh, it looks like, okay, I just got a message that might have been a slide. I apologize. All right, I can probably catch up on the next one because I know we're limited on time. So if we can hop to the next one, please. So we'll talk a little, actually one back, please, sorry. All right, the information center. So this is the first tier. So these are These are, primarily focused on disseminating information to the communities. This helps to ensure that people receive accurate information and reduces the likelihood of the spread of disinformation because messages from the city are being delivered by a trusted community anchor. When possible, we may distribute the resources, or they may open their doors to provide some space to people to charge phones or store items during power outages, but that's not a requirement of this. So this is a basic, information distribution function. Next slide, please. This next one, the limited function activated sites. These are the sites that have a little increased capacity and physical resources to help them respond to things like power outages and other events that might happen in a community. They're expected to open their doors to community members during certain emergencies as they're able, and can provide access to things like restrooms and climate controls, spaces, and refrigeration. Again, if power outages occur and people need to refrigerate things like medications, they can help with that. They do require a little more training and equipment on each site. So for instance, if you skip to the next slide, please. You'll see that we have in here some of the requirements, being that we, have trainings for CPR there, and that there should, be a defibrillator on site, things along those lines. And the city is working to get all of these trainings to the hubs so they can train their staff and volunteers and other interested folks to make sure that they can help with that. Next slide, please. So the next one is the multiple function activated site. So they're just, again, there's a limited, they're doing one or two things. The multiple would be a little more robust. So they're having more of a formal role in responding to into emergencies, and they would actually be entering an MOU with the city of Baltimore. They're also expected in this one to have invested in increasing their capacity to respond and to reduce their carbon footprint both on and off their campus. Next slide, please. And again, you'll see there's a little more requirements around, what the facility should have, and then of course the trainings as well. Next slide, please. And then finally, the comprehensive activated sites. These hubs will, also possess an MOU with the city of Baltimore, and they're able to provide, even more functions, even acting in some cases either as a temporary shelter or reunification center, or as a joint information center where emergency responders and others, come together to get information out to the public. This is really the most extensive category. Currently, we don't have any hubs that fall into this category, but some of them would like to be offering these services. So, this is, again, kind of help to get them to that level by giving a framework for that, to help them get to that level. Next slide, please. All right. And that was just a backup slide in case we needed to talk about DP3 for a moment. And that is it. So, with that, I kind of rushed through these. I'd be happy to talk to anybody a little more detail, but I know we have limited time and a lot of things to cover during these meetings. But, we're really excited to be able to work with the hubs, and, very grateful for their continued efforts and their efforts in giving us information and feedback on developing this model. So just want to see if anyone has any questions. If we have time for that, Amy, is that?
We have plenty of time.
Okay.
So if there are questions or any discussion, that we definitely have time.
Okay, great. I thought I was at 10 minutes, so I apologize. Thanks.
So Valerie, I had a question and then sort of a topic for discussion in this. One, at these facilities, is there any sort of signage that indicates it's a resilience hub and like a QR code that lets, because I don't think there is one at Stillman.
There is not to date. That is actually something that is one of the things we're asking folks, with the requirements moving forward, to be willing to display signage. Traditionally, they have, as I mentioned, they identify themselves and promote themselves to their communities. So, not everyone has opted to do that, but the hubs all at this point have expressed that they'd be willing to do that. So we're looking in the future to get them signage. Recently, we did get some grant funding for a pilot project at Liberty Grace Church, and what part of that was there is the installation of some signage that was a video based signage, so they can actually put messages up. But even I think most likely the first level of signage would be something that's a little more old school, I guess. Just kind of putting out a sign, something like a QR code.
Well, I was walking past the city building today and said fallout shelter. So I was, recalling a different kind of resilience hub. But I think that, you had a comment in your slides about there may not be, communities may be unaware that they have these resilience hubs where they are.
Yes.
So,
And we do want to respect the wishes of the hubs to be able to spread the word themselves. But, certainly that's, as this program evolves, it seems like some are more willing to reach out in different ways. So, certainly we'll keep that on the radar identification. But if it's signage, they're putting it out themselves so their community members can see that.
Right. The thing I wanted to bring up, and I think it overlaps with your sort of different levels of service idea, which I like, and I'm a big fan of the resiliency hubs overall, is one way to think about change is you have presses and pulses, or stresses and disturbances, and to think about too how I think with the resiliency hubs there's a lot of thinking about what they're doing during that pulse event, that emergency event, and the training that's necessary and resources necessary. But also to think about the resiliency hubs as, training and engaging with the communities to be sort of pre-adapted, and what kind of services there would be. And then on the back end, you when you talk to communities, they talk about, well, what happens after all the TV cameras leave?
Yeah.
And it seems very important too that the resiliency hubs can play that important role, right? And so are identifying like which of these services are occurring during these different sort of parts of the event, right? Pre and then immediately, and then the long post, right? I think could also maybe be helpful and for people to understand what do they do, because they may think that it's only just like it gets activated and then the lights go off again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and we definitely, with this, a lot of, if you notice, some of that is really talking about, kind of modeling good behavior and different information and so forth. So that is in there. And then we, there would be more in the all stages of emergency plans, but a lot of that focuses on the active piece. But, even just, for instance, with our solar project that's occurring right now, we're really trying to work with the hubs to do some awareness around that and bring the community in to talk about, and share resources about, any ways to convert to solar, or community solar if you don't have the ability to install in your own property, and just other types of resilient practices. So there's certainly a lot of room to expand upon those things, in terms of looking at disseminating information about climate resilience, and preparedness in general. So that's something we're certainly see the potential there. We do want to be working with the hubs to be doing that, and again, beyond just modeling the good behavior, sharing information and lessons and so on. So yeah, that's definitely something we have our eyes on. And, hopefully as we, continue going, it becomes more and more part of the process. And some of that in our case is also educating the hubs, because everybody, each place has their own levels of information and knowledge of that themselves as well. I know you've worked a lot with Still Meadow, and they have, they've done so much in that realm, but, we also have some that are, just starting to get involved, so they might not have as much of awareness. And in some cases, it's the space too. Some of the hubs, unfortunately, with the solar grant that we have currently, we're not unable to get solar installation because of their physical space limitations. So, there's some things like that we also have to be looking at as well, about how to, but that also is reflective, probably a lot of cases, of their environment around them. Like when you're in smaller neighborhoods and, row homes and stuff, it's a little tougher. So, there's definitely a lot that we can be conveying.
And Joe, would you mind stopping sharing the slide for a minute, because it'll be easier to see if folks have questions or want to talk at all. And I see Inez has her hand up. Is your video turned off? But I don't think you're unmuted. we'll give Inez a minute to
It
get
looks
the
like there's
technology working, but did anybody and any other commissioners in the meantime have any other questions or anything that you wanted to mention?
There is something in the chat about Reequity Foundation potentially becoming a community resiliency hub. Part of this process, we also developed, again, not to hinder anything, but just a simple application process so that we can do onboarding, streamline the onboarding process as well. So, we don't have that live on our website yet, but if you contact us, we can certainly send that to you and, get some information about your site so we can start looking at that. That would be fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah. I hopefully Inez can get on. One of the things I think to also start to take a look at is, for these resiliency hubs being wired so that they can, in contrast to them being wired with storage batteries, to power things, there's quite the possibility of thinking of batteries as mobile. And in this sense, Ford's F-150 Lightnings, can be used to power buildings, right? And if the city had, started to move more towards that vehicle, then in cases of emergencies, you could just have the pickup trucks drive to the resilience centers, plug in, and be able to power the building. So, trying to think more innovatively and adaptably.
That's actually something we are looking at potentially look for some grant funds for those that couldn't be wired. We're hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll find some good ones. But I love that idea.
Well, I think BG&E might be interested in having that conversation.
Wonderful.
So we just let Inez back in, so maybe she can get off of mute.
While we're waiting for Inez, that we want to open up for questions from the public.
Amy, do you want to take questions from others?
Sure. I was going to let Mia or Jared kind of direct call on people.
All right, I see Sharon Nitz, her hand raised.
Yeah, that's right. Hello, everyone. I'm an outsider interested public joining the meeting. Thanks for making it open, based down in Mount Rainier and in Prince George's County. I'm very excited about the resiliency hubs, and I'm familiar with restorative justice hubs. That is a model that was developed in Chicago. And just curious about it. I guess at this stage, it doesn't seem like there's any room for expansion, since working on the core function of these hubs is still needing the capacity built, but just to maybe plant some seeds of potential for this hub model to operate in wider applicable spaces as well, and would love to talk with folks who might be interested in that.
Thank you. I'd have to read a little more about the Restorative Justice Hub, so I'll have to check that out. Thank you.
So I have another hand. If we can go ahead and call on Brooke. Have your hand up.
My apologies. That was an accident. I'm not sure how to lower it back down.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions related to resiliency hubs?
And
Right,
if we're ready to move on, we have Brooke is actually our next speaker. She'll be sharing about the survey that is open now.
Thank you very much, Valerie.
Sure. So, hi, my name is Brooke Burgess. I'm a HEAT Data Fellow serving the Baltimore Office of Sustainability. I'm also a student at Meharry Medical College pursuing my Master's of Public Health. And through my fellowship, one of the projects that I'm working on is to define frontline communities as well as to help improve or to help, like you said, Morgan, the resiliency hubs become more pre-adapted. So, this survey, we use the definition from the DP3 in the Climate Action Plan. And from there, we're looking to improve that for the definition to become more personable to residents in Baltimore. So this survey will be sent out through the newsletter and as well as a QR code used at other tabling events that we have. Or you can share this survey through your networks, or as well as you're a Baltimore resident, you can take it as well. But it will ask basically how familiar you are with the term of the frontline communities or what characteristics describe a frontline community. We're also looking at what climate change, how it affects these communities, and it will ask the residents to provide their community name as well as zip code so we have a distinct spot for those. And we're also looking to use this data that we received to improve the heat maps that were created in like 2018. And in that we can improve or include more layers into those heat maps, as well as show where we need to focus different resources. As you know, different communities need a plethora of other resources, and every community is not the same. So we're looking to just get a more personalized definition that could be used in other research, but it kind of opens the door for more research to be done going forward. So basically, we're just looking at a better definition for frontline communities and how we can use that to improve those heat maps, as well as improving those resiliency hubs or community centers going forward. I will be sure to go ahead. Actually, I can do that now. Put the link to the survey in the chat so you all can follow along. I don't want to read every single question because I don't want to take up too much of your time. Let's see. Okay, but that is open to you now. We don't have an expiration date on that survey just yet. We want to see how quickly we can get these responses in, but as many responses as we can get. So like I said, feel free to share these with your communities as well, or your little groups and things like that. So that is pretty much a brief overview of what I'm looking to do to start my project. And then if I have any further research going on, I'll be sure to reach out to you all. But does anybody have any questions or responses?
Be really curious to see your data. If we could get maybe a presentation if it aligns with the meetings when you conclude your research.
Sure,
Yes.
and I'm looking.
And Brooke, I sent you a message to reach out to me. My organization has a program called Breathe Baltimore, where we work with the Smithsonian on air quality testing across the city. So currently we have 15 monitors across the city, and we've been blessed to get funding to expand the program. So I would like for you to be part of that program.
Sure, I will be sure to reach out to you. And as we create these layers in the heat maps, I'll be sure to share that with you all, as well as any results that we obtain through this survey.
I think one of the challenges for this research too is the cascading set of events. So what we learned from the fire department, I think it would be true for the police department, is that the number of times that they, as the heat goes out and then they become the frontline responders. So you have to send fire engines to deal with someone who's experiencing some sort of heat stress, or police. While they want to be helpful, they see it also as now they're being redirected from what would be their primary abilities. And so it places a huge stress on their workforce. So taking in several fire engines out of service at any one time reduces their capacity. Same for the police department. And so in talking with them, they would love to see other options developed, to reduce the effects, because it's affecting, and they're at low staffing levels to begin with, what those impacts are. Likewise, I think that there's a mobility thing that is appearing too, which is that people who are concerned about access to public bathrooms may not be as hydrated as they should be, because they're worried about where they're going to find a bathroom. And it seems to be particular for older people who have that concern. So there's these sort of cascading things that happen in the system that become stresses, where we might be thinking specifically about reducing heat and its health impacts. Because of the rising heat, there's also other cascading effects that occur throughout the system that I think people are just starting to think about in this, and it'll be interesting to see what you're able to capture about those things too.
Yeah, and I agree. And I mean, many times people don't look at things in depth until it personally affects them. So we did provide another option just in case we didn't cover all of the bases, but I do think that's a good point as well.
Any other questions or thoughts for Brooke? So we do have a little bit of additional time, and I do have a few announcements that were things shared with me, and I'll be putting some links in the chat. One of the programs that Valerie mentioned in the presentation was the CERT program, which I can't remember off the top of my head. It's CERT. I'm looking for the link right now that I'm going to share, but the city runs offers those trainings to residents, and there'll be training available starting in October for folks who want to go through that training and be able to provide support in emergency situations. And so those trainings kind of go through a curriculum, and it also includes kind of a mock response type of exercise built into that. Sorry, I have so many tabs open that I can't figure out which tab I had the link for this open, and so I need just a minute. But I would ask, has anybody in this meeting attended or become certified through the CERT program? Inez has. Great. And Amanda has her hand up. Oh, thank you, Valerie. Thank you. So yeah, registration is open for the October session that they'll be offering. And then the other request we had to share is the Baltimore Ecosystem Study annual meeting will be coming up. Oh, Amanda, do you want to come off of mute?
Yeah, I wanted to say in vain, I've tried to, I don't want to misrepresent myself and say that I've tried to register with CERT and EnvoEd, and I haven't received any word back yet. So I love to make contact with someone if possible, but I think you answered my question that there will be an information session coming up in October I can be a part of.
So they have registration open, and there's an Eventbrite link. Thank you, Valerie. I don't know if they have their Eventbrite link in the link that Valerie provided. That's what I was going to share in the chat, and I'll keep looking for that. But if in Eventbrite, if you search for Baltimore OEM, they have a registration page available for the October session. Thank you for that, for the October training.
Thank you so much.
Yep, you're welcome. And yes, and so Valerie also put the link in the chat for the Baltimore Ecosystem Study annual meeting, which will be coming up. Folks can register to attend, and they can also submit proposals to speak. Morgan, I know that you've been involved in BES for a long time, so I don't know if you have anything that you want to mention to encourage people to attend.
Sure. Well, first, it's going to be at a resiliency hub. That's Still Meadow. But so this will be the 28th annual meeting of the Baltimore Ecosystem Study. And historically, it had focused on research and research findings about the ecology of the social ecology of Baltimore. It has shifted a little bit, well, a lot, in the sense that it's also an opportunity for individuals or organizations to present on their science-based activities related to policy, planning, and management. So, for instance, Brooke, talking about your survey and how the city is trying to engage and think more comprehensively about heat in the city would be something that they would be tremendously interested in. And it's not a meeting where you have to present. It's an opportunity also for discussion and learning. And it's very diverse, and for nerds like me, we think it's fun. And it's free.
Thank you, Morgan. Did any other commission members have anything that you'd want to share as far as upcoming events or things that folks should be aware of?
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Donzo.
I would say we're celebrating Latino Conservationist Week, the week of September 13th. So we'll have a number of events during that week, celebrating Latino conservationists in the area. So we'll have an event, so stay in tune with our website to be a part of it. There will be fun events, including food and drink and fishing expositions and all those things. We are the only organization that is celebrating this in the state of Maryland, and we want to make it a regional event. So if you take a look at our website, that'll be great. And we'll be doing that in September, the week of September 13th, and you can follow that.
Okay. I wanted to mention that, and Valerie, my other comment was related to some other background, which is that, the Ford pickup truck is the only truck that is EV that's is designed to put power back to homes, and they've been working with BG&E and a company called Sunrun, who handles a lot of the electronics, such that last year BG&E had a program with those truck owners that took the houses off the grid from 5 to 9 last summer, and this year they changed the software and some hardware so that now it's a microgrid where those trucks are putting power back into the grid during peak hours. And so they're going to be having I say this, full disclosure, I have one of these trucks and have been one of the early adopters of all this. But they're going to be having an event sometime in the next couple of weeks to serve a press conference. And the Maryland State Legislature is actually pushing this, which is in working with BG&E, where instead of increasing capacity or having to build more power lines, if you had a microgrid of EV vehicles that could reduce the demand from peak hours, and that changes the whole kind of thinking about things, right? And I think down the road would be if you had, for instance, municipal or institutional fleets having that kind of capacity, then that would also be a game changer. So just wanted to let you know that they're going to be having an event about this, and I hats off to BG&E that they're early adopters of making this happen too. So it's pretty cool and very sustainable.
I'll piggyback on that, and I've heard whispers, can't say too many specifics, but that there's there's school bus fleets with that technology as well, and they're being evaluated. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, they're not picking up kids at 5, so
That's right.
all this latent capacity.
Thanks everyone who's shared. It's great to know all the different things that are going on and things that folks can pay attention to or sign up for and learn more. So that's pretty much the end of our agenda. We are going to have OEM at a future meeting likely in October. I've reached out to them because we wanted to include them in the conversations about preparedness, and a later meeting is protecting vulnerable communities. So we'll definitely have more to hear about that work. And next month's meeting will be on watershed planning for September. Me and Jared, anything else?
I don't have anything.
I think that we're ready to adjourn. So our next meeting will be on the Wednesday, September 17th at 4 p.m. So an agenda will come out shortly. Thank you all.
Thank you.